Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of Azure on Air. So today we are going to talk about the final episode of the series Azure Automation. So today we have our very special guest Sathish with us, who has been traveling with us for this complete series, and we have already completed two episodes on this. And if you want to know more about the two episodes, please check on the episodes available in the website. And before you listen to this episode, we request you to go ahead and listen the first and second episodes to have a continuation of it. So in this episode, we are going to talk about the final part of Azure Automation, which is the process automation. So to know more about it, I'm giving over to Satish.
We'll be talking about the process automation, which is one of the component in the Azure automation. So by using this hybrid worker groups, you're creating a connection from your data center towards the Microsoft Azure. Most of the organization, they are effectively utilizing this process automation. I would say the process automation is definitely a time consuming task in this case. Hi everyone. So today is the last part of the series. We'll be talking about the process automation, which is one of the component in the Azure automation. So basically, in the process automation, we can do a lot, like any kind of recurring tasks. We would be able to completely handle it from the process automation. Let it be, any of the activities that you want to do it from the on-premise. There is something called hybrid worker groups. So by using this hybrid worker groups, you're creating a connection from your data center towards the Microsoft Azure, and from there you would be able to create your workbooks and trigger your workbooks in multiple ways. There are multiple ways to trigger your runbooks. Like one, you can trigger it from an external sources like Azure DevOps or GitHub, and then using that source control mechanism, you'll be able to create jobs. Like a job can be something from a webhook, like wherein you're going to trigger a script that is present as a workbook in Azure, and that script would, for example, create a user in the local Active Directory or even create a user in the Azure Active Directory. So these kind of things you can do it with the process automation. Imagine your operations team is fully overloaded with kind of onboarding the employees. You can use this process automation by using any kind of a webhook external references where you're saying, hey, I'm just my HR is entering a field on the portal where the HR is entering new user. For example, a user called Kumar, someone is coming and joining. So when the HR enters the username Kumar, that particular field would be registered on the HR database, and the HR database can trigger that on the Azure DevOps as one of the webhook external call, and that particular Azure DevOps can trigger this workflow in your runbook, and that particular runbook can call your on-premise hybrid worker and say, hey, I have received a request to create the local Active Directory called Kumar in your in your domain controller, which is running in a data center, and that particular domain controller will create an object. And also further, you can also improvise. Okay, please assign Office 365 license to Kumar. Please enable Teams to Kumar. All these things you will be able to do with the help of the hybrid worker groups. So most of the organization, they are effectively utilizing this process automation. By using this, they would be able to orchestrate the process using multiple languages. For example, your team is well capable of doing all this scripting with the PowerShell. Of course, they can very well create PowerShell runbooks by using the PowerShell scripting, and then this PowerShell scripts can be uploaded in the runbooks. For example, even Python, if your team is well capable enough of creating the scripts with Python, yes, they can do it with PowerShell and Python. So at the moment, you are very well capable of doing and creating the runbooks in the Azure automation by two languages, which is PowerShell and Python. uh, so this is one of the very good effectively management of the process using the Azure automation accounts. And I can also talk a lot about the jobs. Like there is also something called jobs. So in the jobs, like you can schedule something on a timely basis where this particular task can start on a schedule. So it's something like a task scheduler which we have on the Windows. The same thing, you have also jobs which you can schedule multiple jobs over here. In the run books, the best part is like you can completely control this run book from external sources. Like how do you control that from external sources is like when you especially go into the automation account settings. In the automation account settings, you have multiple ways to call the manage the source control. Like there are three ways at the moment. The first one is the Azure DevOps, and then the second one is the GitHub repository, and the third one is the Team Foundation version control. Just in case if your organization is still using the Team Foundation version control and managing the repositories there, you can also still use it. So the best part is like yes, your team can have a repository in the GitHub or in the Azure, and that particular repository is maintained with your DevOps team, where they have all the scripts mentioned. Of course, they can have a local branch created, and in the branch they are going to update the scripts and then commit it to the master branch, and that particular master branch would be linked to the Azure Automation account as one of the source webhook call. And by doing this way, as an admin also, they really no need to go and manage this completely from the Azure portal. Also, there is one more important point which I wanted to tell you. You can completely manage the credentials with the managed identity, which is really good because as admin, when you're doing this from your laptop, you're just going to use a Visual Studio or whatever the interface which you like, and then you're going to have a local copy of your clone copy of your master repository, and then you would be just having the commit, and you will you're going to manage everything through the system and managed identity, where there is no credentials locally stored, which is also a very good options, especially for managing the automation tasks via this way. You can also, by doing this way, you can create a runbook, can also import a runbook. All these kinds are really easy to do this. The source control integration, that's the one of the main major benefit of using the source control integration in the Azure Automation, which is supporting a single direction of the synchronization. Like it's just simply you are going to support the one way synchronization from your repository, and this will help you to keep your runbooks and automation account up to date with the scripts in your GitHub or Azure DevOps. That is the best way to go, especially when you're utilizing the process automation. And yes, I as I told, the Azure Automation supports the both the system assigned as well as the user assigned managed identity. Um, by using this, you're also definitely not storing any credentials locally by doing this kind of task. So basically, you're going to have a branch, in the branch where you're going to pull the source files, and then you're going to update, and then once it is approved by your managers, it is going to sync to the master, and of course you'd be having only the master sync to the Azure Automation, and the master file will update it automatically then. So that is the best way. Yeah, there are multiple ways to call the webhook, there are multiple ways to start the runbook. The best way to go is by using Azure DevOps. So in this case, it's like an external application, which is GitHub or the Azure DevOps repos, will be sending a HTTP post request, and that HTTP post request will wait for a response, and the moment when it receives a response for the content, then it is going to simply start the runbook, and your automation activities is started. And one best important thing is the client should have a TLS 1.2, which is also secure, right? You're not doing your like HTTP post call with a legacy protocol. You're just completely secure enough and doing this everything with the TLS 1.2, which is good enough, and then your uh, your environment is completely protected. It is utilizing more or less the same kind of methodology where we saw in the previous a podcast series which we talked where we talked about the update management. So even in the update management, if you want to update your VMs or a physical machine which is running on your data center, there is something a very important component which we are talking about, the Azure Arc. So this Azure Arc is one of the component which is making the connectivity from your data center towards the Microsoft Azure. So here we are also using the same Azure Arc, and with that particular Azure Arc, you are able to utilize this effectively for your uh, automation, for your process automation. This will simply enable the automation directly on your on-premise tasks, whatever you're utilizing for your daily operations. In reality, I've seen this in in production. A lot of big organization, they are utilizing this for onboarding a user. For example, when a user is joining, that is fed in the HR database. Of course, HR would receive a portal where the HR enters the information about the employee, and that information is fed into database of the HR, and that sends and that would be sent to the automation that would be sent to the repository in the GitHub or in Azure, wherever you have, and that particular repository would have a webhook call request to your automation account, and therein it is going to trigger the script which you have it as a workbook in the Azure automation account, which is really good. You're completely doing it okay, a question might be coming, what is the benefit of doing that? The main benefit of doing this is, first, you're doing the process automation, and then secondly, you're doing this everything in a secured way, and finally, all these the source control is fully managed, and it is not exposed. For example, the credential is not exposed, and all this automation is done completely in a secure way. TLS 1.2, finally, you're protecting your process automation. So that is one of the main benefit of doing this. And By using a single HTTP request, you're just enabling an external service to launch a runbook for your automation account. So that is one of the main benefit. So I would also like to tell you one of a few of the limitations. Like if you're using a webhook to start a Python runbook, that is not supported at this point in time, but Microsoft would definitely come in future to make this support even for Python. Currently, you can do all these tasks with the PowerShell. Like for example, if you're starting a runbook, a Python runbook, that would not work. So you should always keep that in mind. It's always better to create in PowerShell as of now, and then that would be helpful. Overall, I would say this Azure automation can benefit a lot, for the organization, where you can utilize it for update management, you can utilize it for inventory, and then even for process automation. You can start from a small task, even for example, if you want to update a property of a field in the AD object, or if you want to disable a user or enable a user, all this kind of task you can start utilizing. Just pick one use case and then try to make it successful, and then eventually when you build a process around it, and all the new onboarding tasks can be effectively managed from here. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to talk about, the process automation.
So, Satish, on that note, I just have one curious question for you. So, that will be based on how the specific process automations effect will be there in a business.
Okay, so this is a very very good question, because um, the process automation, especially, it is over time consuming task for the operational, because for any kind of an operational task, if there is no process around it, there are no automation in place, then it is going to consume a huge amount of time, especially for the operation, and the team would be heavily overloaded in terms of the handling the operation task. So what is the outcome of this? It is going to heavily impact on the innovation part for the entire team. And also, at the end, there is a high possibility the employees might not be satisfied with the job whatever they are doing, because it's going to be always a recurring task for them. and then they're not being updated, or they don't get the opportunity to do the new kind of the innovative tasks that is coming on the edge. The main benefit of doing this is it is at the end effectively increasing the business productivity, and also giving a lot of opportunity for the employees to explore the new features, and eventually implement them based on the business requirement. So I would say definitely that would help the organization as well as the employees in positive way.
Yeah. So, having said that, Satish, so we just spoke about three different processes in the complete series, right? The first one was update management, followed by that, we had the next process, and now it's process automation. In that case, which specific task would require a lot of prerequisite, or which specific task is considered to be one of the hectic one in the complete process?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, I would say the process automation definitely needs resource planning and also infrastructure planning, because when we're talking about the process automation, we are planning to automate something which is already present in our data center, and which is already present and running in our environment for quite a long time. So that could be definitely considered as a legacy. So in order to bring the new the automation which is running on the Azure into a legacy would always be a challenge. So in that case, we need to prepare our network readiness one, and also we need to prepare the resource, like resource meaning like who is capable of creating the script, who is capable of maintaining this as who is having the Azure DevOps skills. Like someone needs to have the PowerShell scripting knowledge, where he would be able to create the workbooks, and then that particular workbooks would be maintained, because when we are talking about process automation, yes, it is implemented, but there should be some person who is capable of doing that for all the process, the existing and the new one that is coming into the business. So I would say the process automation is definitely a time consuming one, but provided you can start picking up a small business case, like, okay, I wanted to disable the user when he leaves the organization. Let me try with the help of the existing resources, and then eventually they can also start picking up this, and everything would be coming in line in the roadmap. So I would say the process automation is definitely a time consuming task in this case.
Yeah. So, with the three automations, even I got to know that process automation is something that is time consuming, but when done properly, it would be more effective for the business, right? So, people who are going to choose Azure automation, what would be your advice for them, Satish?
Okay, so the best advice for them is first you need to classify where your current state is in the environment. Like first you need to classify, okay, if the organization has completely adopted to the cloud strategy, or they are still in the on-premise. That's the first thing you need to look into it. Okay, if you see they are already onboarded into the cloud, and if you see a few VMs which is already running in the cloud, yes, of course, you can go and handle the update management from there. So when you're doing the update management from there, you could show that as an example. You can say, hey, I have completely maintained the update management through the automation account, and you see the benefit. And also you can do the inventory. You can do the decide state configuration for whatever the cloud resources you already have in your subscription. And by picking up the update management and the configuration management, showing one successful use case that you have completed in the cloud, then it is going to build a confidence to the management. Yes, we would be able to completely handle this for our on-premise environment. And then eventually you can extend this to your on-premise resources as well. So that's the best way to go.
Amazing. So, Satish, this series was an wonderful experience for me personally. Like, we've come to the end of the series. We had a complete knowledge about what Azure Automation is. You started from the scratch, and you've now um, equipped us with all the skills that you have got. So thank you so much, Satish. And to the audience, you can just give us a feedback on how the series worked out for you so that we can come up with more series like this. Thank you so much, Satish.
Cove.co.